Hey y'all, how are you? I've got some good news and I've got some bad news for you. Good news is the day is almost done, so yeah. Bad news is my 20 hours of travel time yesterday because of the Delta whatevers turned into about 36 hours of travel, which had me arriving this morning as opposed to last night. So mine was a little jet lagged and weird. But hey, let's get weird with it. It's fine. Had I known I was following Darren, holy crap! The expectations are here. Lower them. I'm gonna be about here. My name is Kirk Walter. I'm here to talk to you about UA Safe Zone. A little bit about my background. I'm from Athens, Georgia, where I did my undergrad in philosophy. Decided that I needed to get more than 5 miles away from home, so did law school up in Columbus, Ohio. Did law school up there, then practiced for the state of Ohio for about 4 years. Took me that long to realize that the North is a terrible place. Yankees, all right, just checking. And decided to come back down to the South. Then came back down here, did disability advocacy for the state of Alabama for about 2 years. Took me that long to realize that lawyers are not, in fact, making the world a better place. I'm glad that you all are seated to recover from that shock, but came over to work with student affairs. And so I work in the Office of Student Involvement, and I do special outreach to student populations, first-generation students, out-of-state students, LGBTQ students, which is where Safe Zone comes in. So Safe Zone is a kind of long-standing program on campus. It was actually started here in 2002 by 2 undergraduate students. Kind of stayed informal and flexible until about 2007 when the faculty staff LGBTQ organization took it over. And it stayed in that realm for a little while until about 2009 when Student Affairs took it over. And since then, we've just been growing it every year. So right now, we are a network of about 25 trainers and about, I think we are right at 1,300 campus allies. So what is our goal? The primary goal of Safe Zone is to foster a university climate that is inclusive and respectful of everybody. How do we do that is we promote those safe environments, promote environments where people can feel comfortable to be themselves. We advocate for students. One of the areas of our recent advocacy that'll actually impact y'all is we've been working very closely with the registrar's office for the last couple of years to get certain changes done to class roster. So now on class roster, you should only see the preferred name for students. So for students who have transitioned but have not done legal name changes, you will now just see the name that they prefer. You won't have to know about or worry about mixing up people's names. We've also added the pronoun field. So on your class roster, there will be pronouns. Again, that's helpful for folks who are gender non-binary or who have perhaps transitioned, but it's also helpful for students who may have kind of gender ambiguous names, Alex. To have the he, him, his, or she, her, hers pronouns, you can kind of know who to be looking for, unless they're doing something like Darren's student and just punking you with the pictures, I don't know. Those are some of the areas we've been kind of advocating to make your job a little bit easier in the classroom. We provide resources, so we have ready-made lesson plans regarding LGBTQ topics that you are welcome to come in and peruse our little library. We also have materials, videos, and whatnot. But first and foremost, what we do is educate. How we educate is through our Ally Training Program. The Ally Training Program is a 3-hour training program that is kind of just the nuts and bolts and 101 understanding of LGBTQ identities. So at the end of that training program, what we hope is that you have kind of a working knowledge of those identities, that you're kind of able to recognize what a chilly campus climate or classroom climate feels like and how that impacts our students. You'll be able to identify harassment as it relates to sexual identity or gender identity, and then apply those concepts, both in your personal life and as classroom instructors. One of the key things that we do like to point out is our kind of guiding principle on this. When we do these trainings and we have these conversations, we are not trying to change deeply held beliefs, opinions about whatever. That's fine. Regardless of that, as employees of the University of Alabama, we are all bound by employment contracts that say that we have to treat all students with dignity and respect. And so what we try to do is provide you those tools where you can create that environment and be able to speak with students with that dignity and respect. So why do we do what we do? Why is this important on our campus? This data actually all comes from the most robust study. It was a 2010 study, State of Higher Education. Within that study, it is a nationwide study. It found that LGBTQ students were about twice as likely to experience harassment on campus than other students. We also found that about 1/3 of all students identified either left or seriously considered leaving their institution of higher education as a result of LGBTQ-related climate issues. You know, the key kind of point to pull from this is an amalgamated study from the entire United States. So this takes into consideration Ithaca, Portland, a lot of little more left-leaning places, but it also takes Alabama into consideration. So the student experience here is probably a little bit worse. There's another organization called Campus Pride that actually ranks universities. And so this last year, University of Alabama came 284th or 87th, I can't remember, jet lag, on the list. That's not great, but we are no longer in the bottom 25. So, you know, hey, I'm taking baby steps. And for you're going to have to get some Auburn hate in you if you don't already have it. We're doing better in Auburn. Auburn is still in the bottom 25. So, yeah, roll tide. So, because, you know, I don't want to just lecture about the esoterics of the Safe Zone program, I do want to at least give you some vocabulary in this. So I just wanted to do some just primary terms. I've already thrown out the LGBTQ acronym, but now this is the audience participation. I'm going to put you on the spot and tell me, what does the L mean in the LGBTQ? Yeah, nice. G? Yeah. B? Nice. T? Ooh, there's some hiccups there. We actually go just with trans. Transsexual is a term that kind of is verging on derogatory at this point. It does have limited application, but really the preferred term for the trans community is trans. I also heard some transgenders, also, you know, not inappropriate, but we're kind of moving away from that. So trans is the preferred term. We actually, in Safe Zone Training, have a whole long discussion about kind of the evolution of that term and why we are where we are. So if you're interested, come to a Safe Zone Training. See the plug? Yeah. Ooh, I'm sorry. I gave it away. For those who are paying attention, Q. Nice, yes. Well, I'll get to that. I. Nice. A. Asexual. Nice. And then the plus. Yeah. So when we got to a couple of letters, there were some additional things being said. When we got to Q, I heard some questionings. We use the word queer, but there's another Q, kind of in the longer acronym. So questioning, completely right. When we got to A, I heard some other ally is often used as the A. It can be agender, it can be androgynous. There are a bunch of different A's. There are also a whole host of different letters that ain't nobody got time for. And so it is kind of privileging and dismissive to have the plus on there, but just we got stuff to do, people. The plus is put on there. So, what are we asking of y'all in that kind of classroom environment? So first and foremost, if everyone would just do the first, practice the golden rule. Imagine a world of just one day where everybody treated everyone else like they'd like to be treated. And this may be just coming from real raw emotion about being in an airport with delays. But it would be awesome. Just treat everybody like you'd like to be treated. On your personal email signature, having your pronouns listed on there is a big way of kind of acknowledging and recognizing, that pronouns are something that you are aware of. So my email signature is Kirk Walter, and then underneath in parentheses pronouns he, him, his. It's just a nod to say, one, I am aware of the trans community and understand the need for pronouns and around that conversation. And then two, And this is just a plug, anybody that does have a gender ambiguous name, when you're replying back to somebody, it's always nice to know whether to use a Mr. or a Ms. and it's not having to do a Google search. When I can't find you, I usually round up to doctor. So if you get an email from me at one point, just know that I couldn't find you on Google to find out, and so you became a doctor. Sorry. Easiest way to get a doctor. Yes. This is the clutch one. So include a non-discrimination or classroom environment policy on your syllabus. Your syllabus is kind of like your behavioral contract for your class. If you have that statement in there of just this is a robust educational environment that is enhanced by the exchange of ideas free of bias and whatever. Wow, I don't know where that came from. If you have a statement like that, one, it sets the tone and says, hey, this classroom is going to be an inclusive space, but then it's also something you can refer back to in the event that there are problems that take place in your class. You can say, hey, look, as I provided to you on the subject, on the syllabus, conversation along those lines, words that you just used, that is kind of breaching that kind of expectation, that classroom environment policy. So that's a real clutch one. Oops, sorry, am I done? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Yep. And then, sorry, I lost my train. Decorating your space with inclusive materials. If you want to have any flyers, any pamphlets, anything, please feel free to come by the Safe Zone office. We design everything with real bright colors, not scared of the color. Please feel free to come by. It does, again, kind of, for those students who need to see it, they'll see it and they'll appreciate it. For those students who aren't looking for it, they're probably not going to see it or care. But it is just a nice little trigger. Really quickly, and then I will open it up to questions. Just some additional considerations. When talking with your students, listen to the language that they use, how they identify, and then try to mirror that language. Try not to make any assumptions about sex, gender, sexual orientation. Really ask those kind of open-ended questions. Asking non-open-ended questions like, hey, are you trans? Kind of tells the person that you've already made the assumption that they are trans. So using open-ended questions, hey, how do you identify? Or what pronouns do you use? Allows people that space to identify themselves. Respect what they tell you, and also trust that they're telling you their truth as they know it right now. We're talking 18 to 22-year-olds. They may not have it 100% figured out. And kind of along with that is also understand that not every student can be out in every context. So just understand that they may not feel comfortable coming out yet, or if they do come out and they come out to you, that they are putting you in a position of great trust, and so try to respect that. So, that's a puppy. I mean, come on. Any questions? I went over a lot really quickly, so.
Great. Where exactly are you located, and how do I become an ally?
Oh, awesome. Yes. So we are located in the Ferguson Center. So basically where the ATMs are, we are right there between the ATMs and Blackburn. How you become an ally is to go through the Safe Zone Ally Training Program. At the end of that 3-hour training program, you're given the option to elect to be an ally. You don't have to. This is actually an affirmative step that we encourage people to take, but you don't have to even if you do attend the training. The other pro tip, and I don't know, maybe this is cheeky, but I'll throw it out there as a landmark. We just installed a free condom dispenser right outside of the Safe Zone office. So that's our other landmark in the Ferg, or where the condoms are for free. Yeah, encourage your students, please be respectful and safe. But yeah, another reason, come by. I saw somebody back there. Oh.
That me we're on. This is the. Oh, okay. So, just further question about the ally training. How often are those, and are they free for?
Yep.
Okay.
They are 100% free. There is open trainings that are offered every month. In the first couple of months of the school, we actually offer multiple ones. Those are just drop in. They're all available on our website. And then if you have a group or a class or anything that you want to do a private training, as long as you have a group of 4 people or more, we will set up a training with room and snacks. And so we're happy to do them whenever, wherever.
I just had more of a statement than a question, but we've actually, at the resource that I've worked at for the past year and a half, used Safe Zone a bunch and have held several of y'all's trainings, and I just want to say thank you. They,
Oh, cheers.
have always been awesome.
Thank you, thank you. That's awesome. And I just paid that man $5. No, that's awesome. Thank you, thank you.
We've actually talked and met before when I toured the school. Hi,
Hey.
Austin again. But you had mentioned an additional policy in syllabi. I was wondering if you might want to re-mention that again here for other people's benefit.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So the university has a non-discrimination policy that, bless their hearts, and we worked very closely with them. We just added protection for gender identity, gender expression about a year and a half ago. The language, however, is still a little clunky. So on the Safe Zone website, we have a ton of resources listed, but one of those resources under the resource tab is a sample non-discrimination policy that you can literally copy-paste and put in your syllabus. And it actually kind of goes in a little more detail and provides a little more oomph than the standard UA policy.
If we attended undergrad here and we're an ally during undergrad, do we need to go through another training?
Nope, you're good. You're good.
Jump in with a question. Tying it back to our last speaker, how do you both encourage discussion and you make your classroom kind of an open place for people to talk while kind of steering away or trying to correct real negative, kind of dark things? I'll give you an example. I teach a public speaking class, and a couple of semesters ago, I had a debate speech on whether females can be president. And one of my students actually made the argument, and I have since begun a much closer review of their debate speeches before they speak. He made the argument that women cannot be president because they are emotionally unstable for biological reasons. And he, bless his heart, he didn't understand why that was wrong. And so what kind of guidance can you give there?
Wow. Yeah. One, I'm glad that student is still pursuing higher education because there's still a lot of work to be done. And that's the other thing. Really remind yourselves you are going to have frustrating experiences with students when you're going to be like, what am I doing? But instead of looking at it with frustration, just look at it as the bar is set low-hanging fruit. You can get some low-hanging fruit with some of these challenging and frustrating students. So we at Safe Zone, we recommend in kind of those settings, we recommended something called the 3C approach. The first C is you clarify. So this may not be exactly on point to step one for that student, but if something problematic is said, asking a clarifying question. Hey, what did you mean by this? Or what did you mean by that? Is usually enough of a trigger for somebody to go, oh, no, my bad, and kind of walk it on back. Sometimes that doesn't work, or sometimes that's not appropriate. So our second C is you create a space. And so what that is kind of having that dialogue that takes place. And so, all right, well, you raised this point. Could anyone, let's brainstorm how that point could have been made, perhaps using more inclusive language, or let's listen to some counterpoints in a speech debate. Hopefully there was somebody going on the other side that eviscerated the person. But then our third C and kind of the last step is, so you clarify, you create a space, and third step is challenge. Challenge is not, fisticuffs. You can tell I was an Irish boxer. I got nothing. But what we talk about when we talk about challenge is kind of, a lot of times people speak from a place where they assume that everyone in the room has the same life experience and social identity as them. And so they are insulated and feel comfortable to just say whatever it is that they're thinking without recognizing there are different opinions. So when you challenge, you kind of insert a hypothetical third person or whatever. So sometimes working with student organizations, I say, what do you think the CW would report if they were listening to this meeting right now? How do you think they would react to this? Or How do you think my gay brother would react to the comment that you made? How do you think your mom would react to the speech that you just made saying that women cannot be president because of their emotions? So inserting those kind of hypothetical third persons, those audience members that will immediately have perhaps a different opinion than what they have, is a good tool to kind of get them to think differently, if that makes sense.
That was an excellent question. So I want to piggyback on that because as instructors, aren't we supposed to be neutral? So if I'm having a debate teaching about the Civil War, which I've had with people, and there were some that advocated, thought slavery wasn't so bad, am I as an instructor to say, well, let me tell you why you're wrong about that? I mean, is that my place? Or am I supposed to be neutral? Because the questions you asked kind of inferred that the person was taking a wrong stance and you were attempting to correct that notion. So what is our stance supposed to be as instructors?
Yeah, and I'll kind of defer. My kind of background, again, is I have a JD and then a master's in library science. I can't decide what I want to be when I grow up. And so in a JD context, there is right and wrong answers. So I don't know, I think it's maybe context specific. But I think you're right in terms of everything can be a teaching moment. And so everything, if something were to come up without necessarily putting you in the spot of dictating what you believe or saying that this is the right moral stance to take, opening it up to that conversation. And then there are some situations where I'm gonna die on that hill. If somebody were to come up and say, you know, I'm glad I was not in that class because then I would have offered the counter, like, I'm gonna debate you real quick.
We had a
Without
very
notes.
awkward after class discussion while I tried earnestly to explain why that was indeed wrong.
Yeah.